Welcome to the deep dive. If you're looking to get a smarter take on new ideas, especially around kids' learning and development, you're in the right place.
That's right.
Today, we're heading outside the usual classroom walls. We're going into the woods, sort of, to explore forest schools.
hmm
Think of this as your quick, thorough guide to the latest research on how learning in nature might be shaping young minds, maybe in ways we don't always expect.
Yeah, and we've got a great source for this. It's a systematic review published just last year, March 2023, in the Educational Psychology Review.
Okay.
It really pulls together a lot of studies looking specifically at the psychological benefits for preschool kids, so ages 3 to 6.
A systematic review. So, for those of us not deep in academia, what does that actually give us? Why not just look at one study?
Well, it's like trying to see a whole forest by looking at just one tree. A single study gives you one piece.
Right.
A systematic review, it carefully gathers all the good quality studies on a topic, in this case, forest schools and preschooler development, and analyzes them together. This one looked at 16 studies, involved over 1,500 kids. So you get a much, broader, more reliable picture of what the research landscape looks like right now.
Gotcha. So, our mission for this deep dive is basically to sift through that collective research. We want to understand what it suggests about how these nature-based environments might impact kids differently than, say, traditional indoor preschools.
Exactly. What are the potential benefits? What are the differences? That's what we're digging into.
All right, let's start with the basics then. Paint a picture for us. What exactly is a forest school? It's more than just kids running around in the trees, I assume.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the heart of it is learning in natural settings, forests, woods, big green spaces, but it's a defined approach.
Okay.
It means regular, repeated sessions out in nature, and they're guided by trained professionals. A really key part is that it's child-oriented or child-led.
Child-led. How so?
Well, the activities often grow out of what the children themselves are interested in exploring in that environment. It's a model that actually started back in the 1950s in Scandinavia.
Ah, Scandinavia. Interesting. So the fundamental difference we're talking about is shifting from mostly indoors, maybe with a structured playground,
Right.
to an environment where the natural world is the primary classroom.
That's the essence of it. Traditional preschools often center on the indoor space, and outdoor time might be on, man-made equipment. Forest school flips that script. Nature is the main stage.
Okay. So this big review, looking across all the studies, what were the sort of headline findings? Did kids in forest schools generally show different developmental paths?
Well, the review did find some, let's say, encouraging signs.
Mm-hmm.
Across several different areas, they noted higher benefits for the children in forest schools compared to the indoor groups,
Higher benefits
like in areas related to creativity, motor skills, and particularly coordination and balance, and also in their connection to nature, how they felt about it. There are even hints of sort of general well-being benefits.
That sounds pretty positive overall, but I'm guessing it's not quite that straightforward.
Hmm.
Research rarely is. Any caveats?
Oh, absolutely. The review authors were quite cautious. They stressed that while these trends are promising, the evidence base is still relatively small, and the quality of some of the studies had limitations.
Limitations have.
Things like how the studies were designed, maybe not enough detail on other things happening in the kids' lives, that sort of thing. So, yes, positive signals, but we need more strong research to really confirm these effects with, greater certainty.
Okay, that makes sense. Temper the enthusiasm slightly. So let's dig into those specific areas. First up was cognitive function thinking skills. What did the review find there?
Yeah, this was one of the areas where the results were, well, a bit of a mixed bag. They looked at 4 studies focusing on cognition, and they didn't all point in the same direction.
Okay, so mixed. Where did they see potential differences?
Well, one study, Agostini and colleagues from 2018, relied on teacher observations over 2 years. And those teachers perceived the children in the outdoor kindergarten setting as having significantly better global cognitive function compared to the kids indoors. They used a specific tool, the Kuno-Beller developmental tables, for assessment.
Global cognitive function. That sounds quite broad. What does that actually look like in a preschooler? What would teachers be seeing?
Good question.
Mhm.
Think of it as teachers noticing maybe more curiosity, better problem solving during play, more persistence, maybe asking deeper questions, just a generally more engaged, a sort of active learning style day to day.
Right. So the teachers felt they were seeing a difference in overall cognitive engagement, but you said it was mixed. What about studies looking at more specific thinking skills?
Exactly.
Well,
That's where it gets less clear. Other studies zeroed in on what we call executive functions.
right. Feels like working memory, attention.
Precisely. Working memory, holding info in mind.
Hmm.
Attention control focusing, ignoring distractions, inhibition controlling impulses. These are really crucial skills for learning. And studies by Mueller and colleagues, Zamzo and Ernst, at Ernst and Burkak use specific tasks like memory games, attention tests, that kind of thing, to measure these.
And they found.
Generally, they didn't find significant differences between the forest school kids and the traditional preschool kids on these specific executive function measures.
Okay. That's interesting. Teachers see broader benefits, but the specific tests don't show a clear advantage. Why might that be?
That's a key point the review raises. One possibility is that our standard cognitive tests, the ones often used in research, might be better suited to measuring the skills explicitly taught or practiced in more structured indoor settings.
Ah, so the tests themselves might be biased towards traditional schooling outcomes?
Potentially. Or maybe the cognitive benefits of nature are a bit different. The review mentions attention restoration theory.
AT, right. The idea that nature restores our focus.
Exactly. Through soft fascination, nature gently captures attention without demanding intense focus, letting those directed attention systems kind of recharge. So it's possible forest schools are boosting these more general attentional resources, this capacity for restored focus, which might not show up directly on tests demanding sharp, focused executive function in that moment.
That makes a lot of sense, like it's building a different, perhaps more foundational cognitive capacity. Okay, let's shift gears. What about creativity? That feels like something that might really blossom outdoors.
Yes, and here the findings were much more consistent and pretty positive, actually. Two studies specifically looked at creativity, and both suggested a benefit for the forest school kids.
How do you even measure creativity in, like, 4-year-olds?
Good question. Both studies use an interesting assessment called Thinking Creatively in Action and Movement, TCM.
Action and movement.
Yeah, so it's not just about drawing and telling stories. It looks at fluency, originality, and imagination expressed through how kids move and interact physically with their environment.
That sounds perfectly suited for a forest school setting. And what did the TCM results show?
Well, the study by Wojciechowski and Ernst found significant gains in fluency, generating lots of ideas, originality, so unique ideas, and imagination for the forest tree school group.
And the indoor group.
They didn't show the same gains over that period. And the other study by Ernst and Burkak using the same TCM tool found very similar results, significant improvements only in the forest school kids across those creative dimensions.
Wow. Okay. That's quite clear then. It really suggests that the unstructured, open-ended nature environment does seem to foster that imaginative, creative spark.
That seems to be the most likely explanation. Fewer predefined toys or structures, more natural loose parts, sticks, stones, leaves. It encourages kids to invent, to imagine, to create their own play.
Totally. Okay, moving on to physical development. Motor skills, running, jumping, balance wear. How did forest schools stack up there?
Here, too, the review points towards positive impacts. That Agostini study we mentioned, where teachers saw cognitive benefits. They also reported improvements in body function, environmental awareness, social emotional skills, play, and both gross motor skills. The big movements like running, climbing, and fine motor skills, like handling small objects. And unsurprisingly, they noted way more time spent in outdoor activities.
Right, just more opportunity for movement seems key.
It seems so. And then there were 3 older studies by Feartoft and Sijay using a standardized fitness test called Eurofet.
Okay.
They found significant improvements in balance and coordination for kids in nature preschools, specifically kids who were engaging in lots of functional play, running, jumping, construction play, and symbolic or pretend play within a forest area.
You can just picture that, right? Balancing on logs, scrambling over roots. It's very different from a flat playground.
Exactly. That uneven terrain, the natural obstacles, they really challenge balance and coordination in unique ways.
Was there a but?
Well, interestingly, 2 other studies used accelerometers, those little devices that track actual movement intensity.
Objective data.
Right. And those studies, one by Fife Johnson et al. And one by Mueller et al., didn't find significant differences in the amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity between the forest school and traditional groups.
So they weren't necessarily getting more intense exercise overall? How come?
One theory the review mentions is that maybe traditional preschools are now incorporating more dedicated outdoor time or specific PE classes.
Ah, yeah.
So the total quantity of vigorous activity might end up being similar. But, and this is important, the type of activity might still be different. Forest schools likely promote more of that agility, balance, coordination needed for natural environments.
That's a crucial distinction. It's not just about heart rate, but the quality and variety of movement. Okay, let's tackle behavior. Always a big topic for parents and educators. What did the review find here?
Behavior was definitely complex. The findings were quite nuanced and sometimes even contradictory depending on who you asked.
Okay, unpack that for us.
All right, so one study, Fife Johnson, again, used parent reports the Strengths and Difficulties questionnaire. And those parents reported no significant differences between the groups on things like emotional problems, conduct issues, hyperactivity, peer problems, or even positive social behaviors.
So, from the parents' view in that study, no major behavioral difference. Did teachers see it differently?
Yes, sometimes. A study by Cordiano and colleagues looked at both parent and teacher perspectives. Parents reported no difference in play behaviors,
Okay.
but teachers in that study observed more instances of what they called play disruption and disconnection in the outdoor preschool group.
Oh, interesting. More disruption.
Yeah, but, and this is key, those same teachers also noted a significant increase in the pretend play abilities of the forest school children.
Huh. So maybe a bit more chaotic interaction, but leading to more sophisticated imaginative play.
That's one way to interpret it. And another study, Mueller's, showed a similar parent-teacher split. Parents reported no difference in social skills,
Right.
but teachers reported higher levels of cooperation and self-control among the nature preschool children.
So again, teachers are seeing positive social skills like cooperation and self-control, even if parents aren't reporting major differences at home. Why the discrepancy?
It could be the context. Teachers see the kids navigating the social dynamics of the group, the challenges of a less structured setting, day in and day out. That might be where these skills really shine or develop.
Yes.
And there was another study, Mortensen et al., in Sweden. They found that in preschools with more natural play areas, teachers rated the children as having less inattention and maybe even slightly less impulsivity.
So potentially better focus and self-regulation in the school setting itself.
That seems to be the pattern emerging from the teacher reports, yes. It's also worth noting one observational study, Lerstrup et al., suggested the specific features of the environment, like a cool climbing tree, might influence play more than just indoor versus outdoor generally.
Good point. The specifics of the nature space matter. Okay, what about the connection to nature? You'd think this would be a slam dunk for forest schools.
You would think.
Yeah.
But even here, the findings were, believe it or not, a bit mixed.
Really? How so?
So a couple of studies by Bearable and Booth used a parent questionnaire about their child's connection to nature.
Okay.
And those parents did report higher enjoyment and awareness of nature in the kids attending outdoor programs. They also found the child's connection was linked to the parent's own connection to nature.
Right. That makes intuitive sense. Involved parents.
Exactly. But the Cordiano study we mentioned used a different scale for children's attitudes to nature and found no significant difference between the groups.
Hmm.
And similarly, Elliott et al. Found higher nature-relatedness in one study, but Mueller et al. Didn't find a difference. And neither of those found significant differences in actual environmentally responsible behavior.
So feeling connected might be increasing in some cases, but it's not consistently translating into, say, kids being more likely to recycle or protect bugs, at least based on these measures.
Right. And the review suggests a few reasons why. Measuring connection in young kids is tricky. Also, developing actual pro-environmental behaviors might take longer, or maybe it requires more explicit teaching alongside the nature exposure.
Yeah, maybe just being in nature isn't enough. You need the educational component that guides that behavior.
That's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
The measures might also not be sensitive enough for this age group in these settings yet.
Okay. The review also mentioned some other outcomes, right? Things that didn't fit neatly into those big categories.
Yes, mostly findings from single studies, so definitely preliminary, need more research, but quite interesting.
Like what?
Well, Ernst and Burkak found forest preschool kids played more with nature-related toys in a curiosity box task. Suggests maybe heightened interest or curiosity about nature.
Okay, aligns with the connection idea.
That same study also found positive development in initiative and self-regulation resilience factors, according to both teachers and parents. That links back to some of the behavior findings.
Right. Anything else? Health, well-being.
Yes. One study by Choi et al. Found parents reported better overall sleep quality in forest kindergarten kids.
Better sleep. Wow.
Yeah, fewer disturbances, less daytime sleepiness, maybe all that fresh air and activity.
That would be a huge selling point for many parents.
Absolutely. Another study looked at illness and injury. Frankel et al. Found no significant difference in overall illness rates.
Okay.
They did find a slightly higher rate of minor injuries, scrapes, bumps for girls in nature preschools, which might just reflect more physically adventurous play.
Makes sense. Risk and reward, maybe. What about school readiness? Any disadvantage?
Good question. Cordiano's study looked at teacher-rated readiness skills and also asked kids how much they enjoyed school, found no significant differences on either measure.
So no evidence they're falling behind academically or enjoying school less.
Exactly. Seems they are on par, at least based on that study. So these other areas, curiosity, resilience, sleep, very intriguing, but definitely need more studies to back them up.
Okay. And speaking of needing more studies, the review itself talked about the methods used, right? The quality of the research.
Yes, very important. The reviewers pointed out quite a bit of variation, heterogeneity in how the studies were done. Different tests, different questionnaires, observations, some custom-made measures.
Which makes it harder to compare apples to apples, I guess.
Precisely. And they also rated the overall quality. Many studies had what they called a moderate to high risk of bias,
Bias, meaning...
meaning things that could potentially skew the results, like not enough detail about other programs the kids were in, no long-term follow-up to see if effects lasted, maybe some issues with how reliably things were measured, or the statistics used weren't always ideal.
So the takeaway is interesting findings, but the research needs to get, well, more rigorous.
That's a fair summary. The field needs more studies with really tight designs, consistent measures, and long-term follow-up to build a truly solid evidence base.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Cognition, creativity, motor skills, behavior, nature connection, all these other bits, plus the research quality. Let's try to wrap this deep dive up. What are the absolute key takeaways?
I'd say the main message is, Forest School shows real promise, especially for boosting creativity and motor skills like balance and coordination. There's also some evidence, though mixed, for enhancing connection to nature, and maybe resilience and curiosity too.
But less clear-cut for specific cognitive test scores.
Right, less clear there. And behavioral outcomes can look different depending on whether you ask a parent or a teacher. Cooperation and self-control seem stronger from the teacher's perspective.
And the big caveat is we need more and better quality research to be really sure about all this and understand the long-term picture.
Exactly. It's an emerging field, evidence-wise. But, even with those caveats, the potential benefits, especially around fostering that early connection with the natural world, feel pretty compelling.
Yeah, it really does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Thinking beyond just individual kids, what could the long-term societal impact be if more children had these kinds of nature-rich early experiences? Could it cultivate a whole generation with a deeper respect and understanding of the environment?
That's a powerful thought to end on.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.